Welcome back to Transfer Winners and Losers, everybody at home. It's me and Chris Hamill here to run through the biggest movers and shakers. The first winner was sent in by Maddie CHH, Leroy Sané.
Yes, that is the headline news, isn't it? But before we delve into that, a massive shout out to a man like Lee Griffiths. He's come back after 6 months leave owing to depression, anxiety, fought his way back onto the pitch and scored a superb free kick in the second round of European qualification, Champions League qualification. An absolute disgrace that we're in the Champions League at that stage.
Is it?
Yes.
I mean, Ajax are in there.
I agree with Edwin van der Sar. We should qualify automatically at the expense of clubs finishing 4th. Anyway, totally different issue, isn't it? How was your weekend before you get into Leroy?
It was good, mate. Junkyard Golf, if you haven't been already, I recommend going. What else did I do? Nice curry on Brook Lane.
Oh, yeah?
A lot of fun. What about you?
I went back to the gym, can you tell?
First time you've been this month.
Yeah. New
shorts as well, dog tooth print, rate that. Fred Perret,
well, you know,
top.
Staying on theme, so with the streetwear.
That's one of your best outfits in ages.
And the smart wear. Thank you very much, mate. Anyway, yes, Leroy Sané. Bayern Munich manager Niko Kovac, very confident that the Bavarians are going to land their star target. Very punchy, in fact, saying, "I'm optimistic Leroy Sané will soon become an FC Bayern player. I believe we will get him." Not exactly covert, is
Punchy.
it? This comes the same week that Bild reported Bayern sporting director Hasan Salihamidzic has officially approached Manchester City to negotiate the move. However, The Guardian are reporting that their initial bid of £75 million is going to be knocked out of the park.
Rejected.
I mean, they're coming in, they're lowballing because they think that Manchester City, post-Rodri, need to make up some cash because of FFP reasons, financial fair play. We all know that he's worth over 100 mil. I mean, probably 125.
I reckon
that is what it's going to take to prize him out of the club, but starting low. Anyway, German magazine Kicker adding that City will only agree to the deal if they find a replacement winger. You're going to talk about that in a second. If the move does go through, it's believed that the 23-year-old will be signing a contract worth £150,000 a week coming from Damasio. Easy to see why he's in such high demand, and this feels like the right club for him, Joseph.
Yeah, and easy to see why it's going to be so hard to replace him. If you're Manchester City, of course, Young Player of the Year in 2018, 10 goals, 10 assists in the league. His underlying numbers, absolutely rancid. Nearly 0.75 goals and assists, 2 key passes and 3 shots per 90. This is a player who doesn't start every game for Manchester City.
Sickening.
It's absolutely sickening. So let's have a look at some of these supposed replacements. The first one, Everton, who was linked to Arsenal. We talked about him on last week's transfer review. So if you want to know more about him, go and check that out. We're not going to go over the same stuff twice. But the new name linked is Mikel Oyarzabal. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've had a good go. I'm kind of counting on the Z being a th.
Yeah.
It might well be wrong.
An educated guess.
He is, of course, the 22-year-old winger from Real Sociedad. Had a very good campaign at the under-21s with Spain this summer and a very, very strong 18-19 season. 3,100 minutes, 13 goals, 2 assists, about bang on expected goals. That is really impressive given the state of Sociedad's attack last season. Only put 45 in the net in La Liga, so he is a key component. They have already signed some strong attackers, of course, Alexander Isak coming in and Martin Ødegaard, so they'll be keen to keep hold of him, but he does have a £68 million release clause. So if City want their man, a little bit similar to Rodri, they'll probably end up getting their man. I don't think he's going to be able to cover the immediate output of Leroy Sané, though.
Well, it totally poo-poos the whole FFP theory as well, doesn't it? If
they
sell someone for 75 and sign someone for 68.
But if they sell him for 120 and then they buy for 68, then that offsets the Rodri deal to a level. So you can kind of see their thinking behind it. I don't think he'd be the perfect replacement, but given the firepower they've got going forward anyway, he would probably supercharge those numbers and look unbelievable under Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, he'd probably be more comfortable riding the pine as well, which is American for sitting on the bench.
Never
Everton, though, worst highlights since Pete Dorman.
Yeah?
Have you seen his lid?
What, Pete Dorman's recently?
No, Everton's.
Oh, let's talk about Dorman's, because that's all over the gaff and I'm ginger.
That's it for this section. Moving on to our first losers. What do you make to those transfers, Manchester City fans, Premier League fans? There's Oyarzabal. Have you quaking in your boots if you're a top 4 competitor? Probably not, but be exciting to see. Our first losers are Liverpool. The Reds are 2 weeks away from the start of the campaign And Osborne Jordan 65 not happy with their business.
Yeah, well, Liverpool's season actually starts next weekend as well. Of course, they've got the Community Shield coming up against Manchester City. Not that anybody gives a flying about that competition, but their pre-season has gone poorly. They haven't won a single game. They've lost 3, drawn 1. I think they lost 3-0 to Napoli last night. Not a pretty result. I saw Liverpool fans absolutely up in arms on Twitter as well. And they still haven't signed any notable players. They have got 2 youngsters in Sepp van den Berg, of course, coming in from Pek Zwolle, and Harvey Elliott as well, which is a very good signing. Fought off some tough competition from the likes of Madrid and PSG to bring him in from Fulham. Of course, he was the player who was the youngest ever to feature in the Premier League, I believe.
We've seen him, he's only 16, but he looks like he's 25.
Well, whilst we're on the topic of terrible haircuts like Pete Dorman, you need to have a look at yourself, Harvey Elliott. It's an absolute shocker.
Still built at 16, like an absolute rodent, a ferret.
It's true. It's true. I mean, flash up that screenshot of Hamill at 16 because all over the place. Your lid as well was an absolute shambles. Let's have a look at them comparatively to the other teams because, of course, they haven't signed any senior first-team names. You look at Man City, 81 million spent. Man United, 65. Spurs, 64. Arsenal, 33 written down here that could quickly become over 100 million if the Nicolas Pepe move gets confirmed today. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. But the last time they spent this little, 1989-90 season. What happened that year? Won the league. So could be good omens. Could be good omens. Jurgen Klopp, of course, saying he isn't jealous of his rivals splashing out. He said he's very happy with his squad. John Henry, I think is the owner, has said there's money there to be spent. Jurgen's not spending it. So we're going to take it at face value and say that Liverpool aren't going to make any signings this window. I think if they were going to, they'd have made them.
Well, let me tell you exactly what he said. He said, we have to pay bills. We invested money in this team, but we're not in Fantasia land.
What's that? Where's that?
I feel like that's not really translated well. Fantasia.
Where's
that? Disney
that?
film back in the day, where you just get whatever you want. You cannot do it constantly.
Tell that to Man City.
So, you know, an air of realism in Liverpool's transfer policy this year. He went on to explain that most of the season's budget has actually been taken up by extending contracts of key personnel. So Sadio Mane, Joe Gomez, Andrew Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, all signing new contracts. Divock Origi as well, somewhat inexplicably.
Big name.
All signed new contracts since the beginning of 2019. The biggest concern going into the new campaign is the amount of minutes, the amount of game time that front three has racked up. And they were very, very fortunate with injuries last term. So Firmino, Mane and Salah all saw their seasons finish in mid-July owing to international duty, international competitions of different variations. So they could effectively, if they give those players an extended break, which you know they should and will, they could start the season with Brewster, Origi and Shaqiri leading the line, which doesn't exactly scream hunting down City, does it? Salah, Firmino, Mane have played 1,460 minutes combined at AFCON and the Copa America. Brewster, Origi and Shaqiri playing 1,420 Premier League minutes all of last season. How's that for a stat? So sprinkle that on it. So the Liverpool, I mean, we said this last term, and we've got a little bit of flack for it, that they were probably lucky to, finish just 1 point behind Manchester City, who were much better in attack and statistically better in defence. Although I think Liverpool conceded 4 less goals than the Citizens. They're going to have to play out their skins to maintain pace yet again, or add.
I can't believe they haven't signed players. Cannot believe they haven't signed players. They always say add when you're at your strongest. Yeah. And Liverpool, rookie manoeuvre this, in my opinion, not bringing in more players.
Well, seen as Fekir was sort of available for that cut price. They could have gone back in for him. Of course, they were willing to settle for less last year, weren't they? But Al Asset Lyon not having it. The Pepe rumours sort of made sense at the start of the campaign, although Salah does play off the right. That might have entailed him being more of a central figure. Yes, it is a little bit confusing, but all the more. I suppose it makes it the Premier League all the more interesting.
I'm delighted.
From second down.
I'm delighted.
There we go.
Moving on to our second winners. This one was sent in by AFC Met. It is, of course, after the weekend they've had, the Gooners.
Yeah, Arsenal fans getting bloody giddy over the weekend. Yep. George Wright especially, our very own, delving into the WhatsApp chat at 12 last night to say, leave the Arsenal section to me, lads. And he went absolutely ham. 2 pages this morning of nonsensical rubbish.
Too much, George.
We're about to truncate it. There's some extremely odd tad bits of knowledge in here, so stick with us. But Arsenal, you know, at the start of the summer only had £40 million to spend. Champions League football hampering their recruitment policy massively. And then all of a sudden, Nicolas Pepe for £72 million.
Sure.
How the hell has that happened? I'll tell you, because Instalments FC back at it again.
The Inter Milan of England.
Yeah, Lille letting them pay it over the course of 100 years, some reports are saying. No, of course, that is BS. But Fabrizio Romano on Twitter, very reliable source, tweeting about the interest last week, and then David Ornstein, the Ornacle Hub, confirming the deal, seemingly.
Yeah.
Apparently PSG still lurking.
The mouthpiece of the
hovering
club.
Like vultures. Yeah, and when Ornstein gets involved, it generally happens, doesn't it?
They drip feed in the knowledge at the last minute.
He's also said that this will land at Nicolas Pepe 150k a week on a 5-year deal. So this is a big investment for Arsenal, especially given the wages that they've, gifted the likes of Mesut Ozil recently. Ornstein also claiming the deal will be confirmed in 48 hours. That was yesterday, so we expect to see him in an Arsenal kit in the next 24 hours. Reliable local outlet, and this is where George, has really done his research.
Gone under there.
La Voix du Nord. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Saying that Pepe is going to make his decision in the next 24 hours. That is, going to happen, be confirmed Tuesday, Wednesday. Again, PSG being the only sort of factor here that's stopping the deal.
Lurking.
Being signed on the dotted line. So, how can Arsenal stump up this cash? It's because Lille have accepted an upfront payment of £14 million, which is substantially less than what Crystal Palace were demanding for Wilfried Zaha. I actually think they've probably got the better end of the deal here. I think Wilfried Zaha probably makes a more immediate impact, but I think he's, 3 years, Nicolas Pepe senior?
2, 3, yeah.
So in the long term, this is probably the right deal, although I struggle to see how Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe fit in that system that Unai Emery was utilising last campaign. But that's for him to solve, all right?
A lot of people on Twitter saying, is this the man that Arsenal actually need? Given that they've obviously got holes at the back, they've still not got a deal for Kieran Tierney over the done. Saliba's gone back out on loan. So at the moment, as things stand, the defence is the same one that struggled last season. I would argue that I think that they've needed a winger for a long time, and this is probably the best option on the market. When a player like Pepe comes around and is available for an initial payment of £14 million, you probably have to jump if you're Arsenal.
Do you know my concern, though? If you watch the majority of his goals, some of the highlights of his play last term, he likes to come very central. He likes to come in off the wing, a little bit like Eden Hazard, and play the majority of his football in the middle of the park, which is why I said that, can he play with Lacazette?
I guess it's going to be kind of 3 floating forwards, no strict positions. I don't see either of them pulling drastically wide. They're all going to try and play in the penalty box, I guess, because Pepe, of course, scored 22 last season, got another 11 assists, a lot of goal contributions, although 9 of those were penalties. I know we like to talk about that a lot. He does win them. Yeah. Like, he is a fantastic dribbler of the ball. He won 5 of those penalties that he scored 9 of. Only Zaha won more in Europe's top 5 leagues last season. He's completing 2.7 dribbles. He's winning 2.8 fouls per 90. Obviously much better than anyone else in the Arsenal squad. And I think he's the best option they could have got. My concerns do remain, though. They've got to get that deal for Tierney over the line. It's absolutely desperate scenes, because I don't know what the bidding process is at for that, but it was talked about 25 million, wasn't it? I'm sure Arsenal fans will be hoping that that deal gets done soon. Yeah. And there was also talk of a lone centre-back coming in. I've seen Daniele Regani's name mentioned a couple of times.
That'd be very generous of Juventus.
Just to kind of fill that gap, fill that void for a season before they can spend a bit more money, maybe in January or next season. But if they can get Tierney over the line, Ceballos, Saliba and Pepe, it's been a fantastic summer to be an Arsenal fan. Like, incredible deals that I don't think anybody saw coming.
No. I think Celtic being slightly more unforgiving than Lille with that upfront payment. I think they want the majority of the 25 mil up front, so remains to be seen if that's a problem for Arsenal, but I think he's their next piece of the puzzle for sure.
Probably the best window of any Prem side if they get that deal done.
Who would you have taken, Zaha or Pepe?
I would probably have gone Pepe.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I'd have gone Pepe just because of that younger profile.
Zaha did most of his damage. I mean, he wasn't like genuinely out and out width, was he? When he was at his most sort of devastating for Crystal Palace. It was when he was playing off a front man, when he had a focal point, when he could sort of float all the way along that forward line. So I guess I've not missed out on a genuinely wide, phenom. But yeah, let's see how it goes, because I mean, promising, start to the window, end to the window, in fact, for Arsenal.
Although let's just hope he doesn't turn out to be like the last player they signed from Lille, because that was a dynamic winger too, wasn't it?
Gervinho was a genius until he got into the box, though. So.
Moving on to our final losers then. This one was sent in by Imran Mehdi. It is Real Madrid.
Yeah, we don't often focus on friendlies, do we? Pretty hard to decipher what is going on at top clubs during pre-season, but when you lose 7-3 to your cross-city rivals, alarm bells start ringing, and it's been hilarious that Real Madrid fans already calling for Zidane's head as a result of this game. And I mean, Real Madrid have spent 272 million so far this window, the most they've ever spent in one window. That's gone under the radar. Of course, notable transfers include Eden Hazard, Luka Jovic. They're overturning the squad massively. Still got big names on the books as well. James Rodriguez apparently staying now, despite trying to offload him to every top club in Europe. The move to Napoli's gone cold. Bayern didn't want to keep him. And Zidane now wants him to stay because of Asensio's injury, and that looks really serious. It looks like he might be out for most of next campaign, which is pretty difficult to say, never mind to go through. And he's not the only player staying. Apparently, the board have blocked Gareth Bale's move to China. The 1.1 mil a week move to China to Jiangsu Suning. Wouldn't know that I did Chinese studies for a whole year, still can't pronounce that. Yeah, apparently the club have blocked it, despite Zidane saying last week that it'd be best for everyone if he moved on. And the fee was only going to be a paltry €5 million. No idea why there's been an internal U-turn on that, so we'll have to keep one eye on it. Maybe trying to offload him as part of another deal. I don't know, that's just pure speculation on my part. What else you got to say about Real Madrid?
Well, I'm going to go through some of the reasons that this move has been vetoed.
Oh, okay.
So obviously, Hamill mentioned it there, the board blocking it, one report claims, because of such a low transfer fee. €5 million is paltry.
But they would have had to agree to that.
I know that they want to get the money out of the books, because he is earning, €620,000 a week at Real Madrid. But €5 million seems very low. There's another reason that's being stated. This one was stated by Marca, who are of course used quite often as a mouthpiece by Real Madrid and Florentino Perez. They claim that Bale's family asked for a last-minute amendment to the deal in which they were allowed to stay in Europe. Basically, the rumoured reports are that he was going to go to Jiangsu Suning and be loaned straight back to Inter Milan, because of course it's the same ownership structure, and rather than Inter Milan having to pay the money, he could have gone out to China and then been loaned internally to Inter Milan.
That doesn't feel like something that should be allowed to happen.
It doesn't, and that is potentially one of the reasons that this deal has fallen through. And the Times as well are this morning reporting that Jiangsu Suning are the ones that pulled the plug on the deal, because they instead signed Ivan Santini from Anderlecht, and that tipped them over the limit of foreign players within the league. So a number of different reasons being touted as to why Gareth Bale's move to China collapsed. Either way, he is now stuck. China don't want him. Nobody in Europe is going to pay that £600,000 a week wage that he refuses to budge on, and he's just totally unwanted by Zinedine Zidane at Real Madrid. Communication has apparently completely broken down, don't even talk to each other. Saw Barnett coming out on Twitter the other day saying that Zidane just doesn't like Bale.
That's his agent, right?
Yeah, that is, of course, his agent. And he's also said, Jonathan Barnett, that there won't be a loan move. Gareth is refusing to move on loan to a club. So that probably rules out anyone like Tottenham Hotspur, who don't want to spend big money.
Gareth, just come home to Tottenham. He's just fallen out of love with the game.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what he's going to do. I think it's such a shame, because he's still, what is he, 30 now? I think he's still got something to offer to a top club.
I feel like he just spends all his time at home ironing notes.
Yeah.
Just money.
I would just love to see him just say, okay, I'm going to take a massive wage hit and I'm going to go on loan, or I'm going to go for a very small fee to Tottenham Hotspur. That would be a fantastic move to watch.
That's, of course, if Tottenham want him.
Or to Bayern Munich if they want to pick up a winger and don't mind the injury record. It's slightly tenuous, but I think that'd be quite an exciting transfer. Either way, where do you guys at home think that Gareth Bale is going to end up? Will he stay at Madrid? Will he somehow end up at another CSL team despite the window closing on Wednesday over in China? Or will he end up somewhere else? Vote in the poll up there right now. Don't know how many options we can put in there, but we'll give it a good shot.
So that's all we've got time for on winners and losers. What else can the fine people at home watch, Joseph, on the Football Daily universe?
Why not go over to EFD? I believe today is a top 10, right? Yeah, absolutely nailed that. Don't know what the title is, but go over there and watch that because it will be great content.
Yeah, I think Doogie's having to edit it now because James Wayne is ill.
Pretending to be ill.
So,
Classic Wayno.
Cheers, James.